And welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match reaction for Everton's second pre-season match, 2025, a 1-0 defeat against Blackburn Rovers. And obviously, reading that first line, obviously sends off a few messages, perhaps, and maybe rings a few alarm bells for some people. But I did the reaction for the Accrington game a few days ago, and I want to start off this by reiterating the exact same point I made mostly throughout that one, that these results really do not matter. And I know a lot of Everton fans I think quite enjoy maybe a little bit of the panic almost. They kind of relish like you know, sending out the battle cries or the messages to Mr. Moyes and stuff like get your checkbook out, all of that. But these results really don't change anything. They really don't. Our pre-seasons are always so poor, and and people will argue that yeah, our seasons in the league usually follow suit, but it really doesn't have too much of a bearing on things. I really don't think. And you've also got to take into account the fact that Blackburn are not a bad side by any means. This is hardly, an upset against a team of like Accrington stature, for example. No disrespect to them, but Blackburn were challenging for the Championship playoffs last season. They're not a mile away from Leeds, who we have on the first day, and who a lot of people, quite rightly might I add, are looking at on the first day of the fixture and feeling quite nervous that that's probably a bit of a banana skin for that. And of course, that's the game that really does matter. Like for in our future anyway, for the next few games, results aren't important until we play Leeds, and it's all about getting the squad ready for when that match comes along and the season that follows after that. And yet, I think it's clear, I think, from the sides. I mean, you look at the team that we put out against Blackburn, and with the exception of Pickford, who's clearly not ready yet to be playing, and Tarkowski, who's out injured, out of the available players we have, you could argue Barry. Obviously, none of us have actually seen him play in a blue shirt yet, but out of the rest of them, that is probably about the closest to our strongest starting lineup that we have. Again, you'd maybe argue Coleman over Patterson, possibly, but yeah, again, with Coleman's decreasing fitness levels, you imagine you'll be seeing more of Patterson than Coleman next season, depending on who comes through the door. And yeah, the performances still definitely aren't there yet. And I think the way we're playing, if indeed I think the tactical setup and the sort of tactics that we're implementing during the game, if they are going to be what we're going for next season, then I think the key thing for me is that our fullbacks like desperately need to improve. Um, I kind of have sympathy for both of them. Like Patterson makes the right runs and gets into the right positions. I think offensively he does have quite an intelligent game. It's just always the final product isn't there. There were too many wayward crosses, pullbacks to no one. Um, and yeah, it's like as soon as he gets into the final third, it all seems to fall apart a little bit for him. Whereas Mikalenko, we all know how impressive he is defensively. It's also got to be noted for Patterson as well that I think uh, his defensive game still leaves a lot to be desired, and obviously for a right back, that's arguably even more important than being good going forwards. Obviously, the modern game kind of blurs the lines a little bit with that. But Mikalenko, we all know how solid defensively he can be the majority of the time. Obviously, he has his off days. I think this Blackburn game probably was one of them. And for me, I'm still more than happy for Mikalenko to be our starting left back next season, but he definitely needs some competition there. It can't just be him as the only real player we've got left in the squad now who's able to play left back out of the first team players anyway, now that Ashley Young has left. So yeah, the fullbacks definitely need to be addressed. Right wing definitely needs to be addressed. McNeil is not the answer out there. We probably need at least two players, I think, who can play that position. Um, and yeah, probably more midfield needs strengthening. Of course, like I said, everyone knows just how many players need to get through the door. We're not gonna don't want to go into that too much on this video because that's not the place for it. But this is, I think these issues will have already been known for David Moyes. But I guess, the only real positive you can take out of this is that these games are probably showing them as even more desperate perhaps than he originally thought. So definitely needs to be looked at. We all know this. I'm sure it still will be. I don't think anything's going to get rushed now that we've lost a preseason game. Um, yeah, it's always a bit of a time for overreaction, I think, this period of the year. But that I don't know. That's all I can really say about that. I'm sure many people will probably be disagreeing with me and think that there should be a bit more panic about it, but I'm not overly concerned. It wasn't a great game all round. I don't think Blackburn covered themselves in glory really in how they played. Um, and yeah, I thought there were times where we controlled the ball pretty well, but it was just the lack of attacking threat and defending set pieces. I think that are probably the main causes for concerns that you can pluck out of that performance and contributed to why we lost. We got completely torn apart for the goal as well, it must be said. The defence dragged all over the place. Mikalenko and Bramthwaite both really pulled out of position. And yeah, you can't even really put too much fault on Patterson on that fact because he needs to be over there to cover the forward in the middle, and that just allows the player on the left hand side to sneak in unopposed and tap it in. Just a final note as well, very briefly, of course, I should probably say that Mark Travers, making his first appearance in an Everton shirt, actually had a very solid game. He's probably one of our better players. Didn't have too much to do, but anything he did have to do, he did well. And obviously, as I've just mentioned for the goal, a tap in from 6 yards. I don't think there was anyone in the ground who would have expected him to save that. So yeah, that's definitely a positive. I'm also going to be doing a player ratings video going into each player's performance in a bit more depth. So stay tuned on the channel for that one as well. But that sums up my thoughts on this reaction to the match. So please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment below giving your thoughts, how you found Everton's pre-season so far. I'd imagine a few of you are probably feeling a lot more negative than I appear to be in this video. And yeah, subscribe to the Toffee channel for more Everton content, and we will see you in the next video. Up the Toffees.